I don't know about you, but I think it's really fun and kind of funny to play peekaboo with a smiley baby. Well, we're not the only animals that mimic each other. We're not the only animals that copy each other as some kind of communication. Chimps apparently do that as well. And according to a study, chimps like to mimic people when they come to the zoo. So let's read this story from the conversation. They say, chimps like to copy human visitors to the zoo, and they got the Ig Nobel Prize for this research. So how good is your best chimpanzee impression? Go to the zoo, and you probably wouldn't be surprised to see people copying chimps in order to grab their attention. But our latest research, which recently won the Ig Nobel Prize for anthropology, suggests you're just as likely to see chimpanzees imitating the human visitors. Established in 1991, the Ig Nobel Prizes are granted each autumn to 10 unusual scientific discoveries that first make you laugh and then make you think. Our findings unravel a form of imitation as communication that has not been previously reported in non-human apes. We typically think that humans evolved imitation as a way of learning, but our study suggests it can serve several functions, including for other animals besides humans. So this is the really interesting thing about this study. It's not just that it's cool that chimps mimic us when we go to the zoo. It's that this kind of calls into question the idea that imitating others is mostly or only for learning, because this study found that the things that we were imitating were things that we're familiar with already. So it seems like it's more of a way to communicate and kind of say, hey, I'm here to the other person, and so are you. Like, we're recognizing each other. Some kind of communication is happening that may or may not have anything to do with learning anything. And it's probably not having anything to do with that. So it's kind of a way for mammals, or at least primates, to connect, it seems like. And I don't know about you, but when you do something kind of like, and then another person copies you, you're both kind of acknowledging the other's existence, and it does create some kind of connection there. So I can see how this would be a powerful way to communicate without even saying anything. And I think those are kind of the ways that we started to communicate before we had language. So maybe most of our ancestors and cousins and relatives in that primate family tree can do this and do this as well. I'm not sure, but this study is one look into that window, and I think it's really cool. So this says that the research published in the journal Primates found that the chimpanzees at Fruuvik Zoo in Sweden were just as likely to imitate human visitors as the other way around. We watched a group of 5 chimpanzees at the zoo and about 10,000 human visitors that stopped by the chimpanzee enclosure. In total, we recorded 1,579 times when a chimpanzee did something directed at a human, and 2,211 human actions aimed at a chimp. About 10% of the actions of each species were imitations. The actions copied by the humans and chimps were also surprisingly similar, with both favoring hand claps, knocking on the enclosure window, or kissing. This is where things get interesting. Since both species imitated actions they were already highly familiar with, this imitation can't have been a method of learning, but rather appeared to be a way of communicating. That's the fruit of this study. That's what it's really saying. By digging into the data a bit further, we found that interactions that included imitation were longer than those that didn't. This suggests that imitation was a good way to initiate and maintain social contact between the two species. On several occasions, imitation turned into a game of back and forth copying that the chimps seemed to enjoy, making playful facial expressions. This not only shows that the chimpanzees quickly became aware of being imitated by the visitors, but also that they really enjoyed and were interested in the interaction. And again, this goes back to kind of playing peekaboo with children. I think it is enjoyable for both adults and children. I think they really like it, and it's fun for us too. So apparently, chimpanzees like this imitation kind of game also, which I think is really cool and fascinating. It goes on to say, scientists have long agreed that imitation is a key mechanism for social learning that lets humans quickly acquire skills and solutions to problems by copying others. And yeah, that makes sense too. If you watch someone swinging a golf club who is at the right angle for you to see how you would do it, it obviously makes it easier for you to imagine how you would do it and then for you to do that activity. Because it enables knowledge and new inventions to spread and pass down generations, imitation is considered fundamental to our species' complex culture and advanced technology. Decades of research shows that, in spite of their proverbial aping abilities, non-human apes are rather poor at imitating the actions of others. In experiments where they have to learn a new procedure for solving a problem by watching it being demonstrated, apes systematically perform worse than human children. Yeah. And this might be because they lack the social side of imitation, meaning they don't seem motivated to engage with others by sharing goals and experiences. In contrast, human children show this social motivation by often gazing at the researcher's face or smiling during such tasks. They also over-imitate, slavishly copying all the actions performed by a demonstrator, regardless of how relevant they are for solving the task. Apes, on the other hand, appear mostly motivated to acquire the food reward that comes with solving a problem, and so they don't show these social communicative behaviors. Social imitation. But the social side of imitation extends beyond learning tasks. We also see it when we empathize with others. We smile when they smile. We look sad when they're sad, or yawn when they yawn. And we do this pervasively, yet without awareness or intent. Research shows that our species shares this unintentional kind of social imitation with our closest genetic relatives, chimpanzees, bonobos, and orangutans, and even with non-primate species such as wolves or sheep. Another intentional kind of social imitation is found in toddlers' interactions with each other and with adults. Before they master language, toddlers often playfully imitate familiar actions as a way to engage and communicate with others. Yeah, so before we can speak, we kind of do this imitation game. And if you travel to another country and you don't speak the same language, this happens more often as well. You kind of try to use body language to communicate. And maybe you see the way that they move their body in that culture, and you kind of copy their body language a little bit to make them feel more comfortable with you. So we do this as adults as well. And this is similar to the imitation games we saw at the zoo between chimpanzees and human visitors. Our study shows that chimpanzees and humans were equally likely to use imitation as a way to interact with each other. So this imitation is kind of underneath language in terms of the way that we communicate. Given that we know chimps aren't as good as humans at learning through imitation, this challenges traditional theories and suggests that imitation may have evolved primarily for social reasons rather than a means of learning. So maybe it happened that this imitation is a way for us to connect with each other as social animals. It's a way for us to be more social without language. So maybe it evolved that way. And then as humans, maybe we evolved to use that social imitation in order to learn things more quickly and to pass down knowledge to future generations. So maybe it was the other way around, where it developed as a social way to interact, and then we evolved the way to learn from that imitation as well. So I think that this study is very interesting. It challenges some long-held theories that have been out there about why we imitate each other. And I think this is extremely interesting and important because it gets to the fundamental heart of why we do things, which I think a large part of it is to communicate with others because we're social animals. And all mammals basically are social animals as well. So it doesn't surprise me that because social interactions are so important to primates and especially humans, where, we have to raise our kids until they become adults, which is pretty rare out there in the animal world, that we would need some way to connect before that little baby can even say a word, before we have human language. And so this is kind of maybe a baseline of communication where at least we're both acknowledging each other's presence, and maybe we're creating some good emotions behind that as well, because it looks like everyone's kind of enjoying that, including chimpanzees. So I think this study is very interesting. And if you want to talk about a new topic like this every single day, I post a new video every Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern Time, talking about a topic I find interesting, and hopefully you do as well. So if you want to join me for that, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. And either way, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I would like to see you in the next video as well. I'm Jim Wolf, and I'll talk to you later.